I grew up in poverty and dysfunction. I'm talking about the kind of poverty that it was not uncommon to look over at our house and see that there was no power in the winter or the summer. I'm talking about the kind of poverty that you have no power and no electricity in your house and you're getting dressed for school and the school pictures in a bathroom with no windows. I'm talking about the kind of poverty that you go to school and the teachers wonder why you look so sad. They don't understand the dysfunction that you live with at home. I'm talking about the kind of poverty that you are feeling like you're the only one in it. I thought that I was the only one at the time. I learned that I was not alone and am not alone now. There's so many women in boardrooms, classrooms, governmental, military, clergy, and the list goes on, that we've been taught to just mute our voices, to shrink and to bury those things. And those very things are keeping us from living the best life and showing up. We have all the credentials. We have everything that we need to be successful, but we believe that we're not enough because of the trauma that we experienced. So you ask me, what is my superpower? My superpower is that I help women unmute themselves by unburying those things, those hurt, those pain, the shame, the things that keep them from being the best version of who they are. I am a transformation architect. My superpower is I help you to not only transform your life, but to transform the spaces and the places that you're in, your communities, your home, your families, and your generations. I am Stephanie Wall, the transformation architect. I help women to be not only the best version of who they are, but to unmute themselves in every space that they're in. One of my first lessons came when I was in fourth grade. Fourth grade in Swansfield Elementary School in Columbia, Maryland. I was a skinny, short kid for my age. I hadn't quite come into my power. I didn't really know who I was. I was kind of scared of life, kind of scared of people. And on one day, one of my friends, her name was Tracy, she shared with me, she kind of whispered that she hadn't been eating her lunch because somebody was taking her lunch money. Now, I don't know what came over me and why I thought I could do anything, but on that day, I decided that, okay, when she got in the lunch line, I was going to stand beside her in line so that nobody would bother her or take anything from her. Now, I was scared to death because I was thinking I'm going to get my behind kicked right along with her, and they're going to take my lunch money too. But for some reason, nobody bothered her. Nobody bothered me. Nobody said anything to her. And from that moment forward, nobody bothered her or took her lunch money anymore. That was the first time that I learned that even scared, if you just stand for something and stand together with somebody else, that you can make a difference. Now, fast forward, I was a tenured, I've been a police officer for decades at this point. And here I was in a room with some folks, and I had a secret that I had never told anyone, that I had buried so deep. You see, there had been a time before I had the badge that I experienced one of those, if I can't have you, nobody will moments. And there I was, and one of my friends was telling her story. She's also a police officer, and she's telling the story about how she was the victim of an intimate partner assault. And man, the tears just started pouring out my eyes. It was just an ugly cry, and it was uncontrollable. I was horrified. And in that moment, I believed that the career that I knew I was making a difference, that I would no longer be able to do it. I just was ready to quit. But you know what I found out? Yes, someone tried to take my life, but I'm called to save others' lives. So I step out there boldly because I know that without me, if I don't use my voice, if I don't say the things that I'm supposed to do, if I don't be transformed, that nobody will be transformed. Lives will not be saved. So I step fully into my power, even on the days that I'm afraid. I've learned that silence feels safe, except for it corrodes the confidence you have, so much so that you forget who you are. I remember when growing up, how I was told after some time that I was too tall, my voice was too heavy, that I sounded like a man, and that I talked too fast. And for years, I muted my voice. I just was, if someone was talking, I didn't raise my hand. If there was something going on, I was sitting in the back of the room because I was afraid that somebody was going to say, listen, she's talking too fast or she sounds like a man. I was terrified to stand up in groups because there was always somebody telling me I was too tall. But you know what I found out? I'm not too tall. I am statuesque. My voice is not heavy and I don't sound like a man. My voice is sultry. I don't talk too fast. I talk with zest, with a Z, not with an S. I'm not a sapper, I'm a zapper. I found that there's so many people that want you to shrink, because sometimes the lights that we shine in the world, that light will shine on their perceived shortcomings. But that's their issue and not yours. That does not mean that we get permission to mute. I unburied the thing that was causing me pain. And that is how I help other women to unbury those things. I found that when we unmute our voices, we give others permission to unmute theirs. Dr. Les Brown says that many of us are not living our dreams because we are so busy living our fears. And that keeps me up at night. So now I'm on a mission to transform lives, starting with my own. If I were to have a conversation with my 21-year-old self, I would look her right in her eyes, I would hold her hands, and I would tell her, Stephanie, abuse is not love. I would tell her to run as far away from abuse in those type of relationships as she could and to stay away. I would tell her that she deserves peace, she deserves safety, and she deserves to be loved and to live without pain. You see, because when we were that age, we believed that anybody that loved us, we needed to hold on to them because we didn't know that we deserved more. We thought that love had to hurt, that we just had to deal with all the things that we didn't deserve better. There is a time in our lives that we cried a lot. There was a time in our lives that folks were telling us, I love you and I do these things to you because you made me do it. There were times in our lives that we were experiencing things that nobody else should have ever, including us, experienced. We experienced some things that we were unrecognizable to our own mother because of the adversity and the things we had experienced. I tell her that love yourself more. Love yourself hard. You deserve it, and the world needs you. I tell her that all the things that she's experienced, those things, yes, they happen to you, but they do not define you. Yes, you've experienced them, but you can get past them. Yes, you've hurt, but your hurt, that pain will be turned into purpose, and you will transform other people's lives by sharing your truth. I tell her to live her life because there's so much life to live. I tell her to lean on her faith, lean on her skills, to learn as much as she can because she's going to be transformative. Because that's just the way it is. One of the biggest challenges facing women today, and particularly women in corporate, government, military, clergy, is they cannot find their unique voice. They cannot find their voices when there's this transition. They'll be in new positions or get elevated some kind of way, and they don't feel like they belong in those spaces because of all the trauma and the things they experience. They show up in those spaces and sometimes fail. They fail because they don't believe they belong there. How do I know? I was her. But because of that, I'm making my life mission, because you know what I'm doing right now from this moment forward and have been, is helping those women to unmute their voices, to stand 10 toes down, as has been said, in their strengths. They already have all the degrees. They have the skill sets. What they don't have is the mindset. So I am there to make sure they do all the things that they're supposed to do, all the things they already know how to do. I want them to go in those rooms and stand up like Charmaine. Charmaine was amazing. She was already a VP at a company. But one of the things that she didn't feel comfortable in some of her spaces is because she felt like when she was speaking, people were kind of like maybe not listening to her, or she didn't feel confident in it. And so I listened to some of the things that she talked about when she was presenting. And one of the things was she's amazing and she knew all of her stuff. But the only thing was that when she became the queen, and listen, ums will become distracting. And the same was for Priscilla. Priscilla is amazing. But when COVID hit, oh no, we all online. And now she had to present and be leading more groups. And while she was leading all these groups, what happened? She's trying to figure out, why is everybody drowning out? Why is everybody tuning out? Because she too was not showing up in all of who she was, because she didn't believe in herself. And the list goes on. And then there's Pam. Pam had to transition to a new job, and while she's transitioned to a new job in a new city, in the course of those things, that she's in this new place, she loses her son. When I say her son, she lost her son to gun violence. Her voice was muted. She no longer knew who she was. She didn't even know if she could still be here. She didn't know how to go on. She didn't know how to continue. So I taught her how to dig in there, how to deal with the morning, because of course she needed to just go see a therapist, because I'm not a therapist, I am a coach. However, she needed the tools, she needed to know how to unbury that thing. So she used her voice to help other people just like her. Now she has her own platform. She is growing by leaps and bounds out in these streets, teaching other people who have lost the loved ones in their lives how to navigate this world. It's not only helping them, but it's helping her. She found her voice. She's helping other women to find their voices, just as we're doing it. 1 million lives transformed. You see, here's the deal. When you transform one life, that one life will transform other lives, and therefore millions of lives have transformed. This is why we do what we do. This is why we have to be unmuted. This is why I do everything that I do. Why do companies hire our organization? One, because they have a challenge. They have a challenge and they don't want a cookie cutter answer to it. They're dealing with people. When you're dealing with human beings, and they want somebody that comes in and they see the whole company, who comes in with a customized plan, who can come in and they say, okay, this is the problems that you're having. This is the results that you can get. But someone who can come in and absolutely build relationships, because it's not just about connections. Because they want someone that can come in there and understand the people that work there, because it's more than just bodies in a seat. These are humans. These are humans that need a human connection, who come into these places and they bring in all of who they are. And oftentimes companies don't know how to handle that. Often that work is just dovetailed to human resources, but human resources has to bring in companies like 1 Million Lives Transformed to help them to navigate building these relationships, helping, supporting, and bringing in resources for their staff so that they not only feel seen, heard, but also valued. This is what we do. We help them to unmute themselves, because oftentimes these same organizations, they elevate people through the ranks. They elevate people in these organizations. And what do we do sometimes? We put people in positions without giving them any type of cheat sheet. We put them in positions and we expect them to know how to do it without telling them how they are expected to show up. We put them in positions without helping them to change their mindset, because if you've ever been a worker bee, if we like to call them, you the worker bee, but then the next week you are now the manager or the supervisor or the leader or the executive, you have got to switch not only your office, but you got to switch your mindset. And this is something that is taught typically. This is the type of things that we come in, because at our company, we not only do transformational coaching, but we use neuroscience. We use the strength-based coaching, all of the things that are required for individuals to know how to show up so they can grow up and glow up for the company. The companies can't go to their next level if their individuals that serve them, that run the company, and the ones that support don't go to theirs. So this is what we do, and this is why we do it. Let me give you an example. We worked with a nonprofit called Perfect Generations Ministry. They needed help with building cohesion with their staff, and so they would understand the mission, the vision, and be able to articulate it out in the community. They needed them to not only know it, but to own it. And so this is how we came in, not only to teach them so that it could just roll off their tongues when they're talking about it, and the why. Like, it's important. You're a nonprofit, and nobody is giving you money unless they can feel it. They need to feel the why. They need to also feel it and see themselves in that story. So we came in to not only teach them the vision and the mission and help them to own it, but we taught them how to become great storytellers, how to use their voices, and why it was important to unmute it. Their stories, every last one of them became a part of the nonprofit because they had a story. They saw themselves in the nonprofit. And so they had to use those stories to build upon Perfect Generation and to get all of us, the world, to want to support them. And then there, of course, was the governmental agencies. There was an agency that is the Hope Works. Hope Works needed to have some folks to come in and kind of help them to share their stories as well. But from Hope Works, they went on to the next organization and the next organization. I'm telling you that when we show up, everybody almost has the same ask. The same ask is to help us with our vision, our mission, help us to get the heart of it, help us to learn it, know it, show it up, and show out in the world in that way, so much so that everybody wants to know more about our companies and our organizations, and or want to come work and serve here. This is why we do what we do. We deal in hearts. We deal in mindset. We deal in learning people so that they can learn themselves and they can unmute themselves. And this is what we do. And this is why 1 million lives transformed is transforming lives one person, but particularly women, at a time. The making of an entrepreneur experience has been phenomenal. Here's the deal. When you are thinking about all of the things you want to do in life, we all are talking about, whichever ad says, that we want to invest in ourselves at a level at which we expect results. You cannot show up and glow up anywhere if nobody knows who you are. You cannot show up and glow up anywhere if you don't feel like you are somebody. This experience has been so amazing. From the makeup, and I'm feeling some kind of fabulous. From the time I'm coming in, there's cameras flashing everywhere. From the concierge experience, I got the fans going. I got Shay Brown making sure that I'm saying and I'm showing up the way I should in excellence. I have everyone from the music. Woo! Here we go. I'm talking, you come in a room, you cannot leave here the way that you came. This was everything that I wanted it to be, everything I needed to be. And if we all had this experience, and particularly for those of us that are out here in this world trying to transform lives, coaching and building and leading, if you're doing that, then you should be here doing this. This is it, folks. Do not miss an opportunity to have your experience, because it is exactly what they tell it to be.